you can't have long-term affairs with 6 different partners.
Yeah, unless he's juggling multiple phone accounts or something like that.
Right. And some men try to do that, but I think could be very taxing.
Andrew Huberman is a 48-year-old professor of neurobiology at Stanford University. He has a very popular podcast called The Huberman Lab that a lot of us listen to. He has millions of followers on social media, and he's also my former future husband. Huh? What? Who said that? I don't know. I didn't say anything. Recently, an article came out in the New Yorker that was very disappointing to a lot of people, to say the least. In it, he was exposed as a cheating, flaky, kind of strange person who at one point is believed to have been seeing 6 women at the same time, and who's nothing like the disciplined, controlled person that so many of us really thought that he was. I mean, people looked at Andrew Huberman as this paragon of great advice, a great example of who we all want to be, somebody who's healthy, who takes care of their body, their mind, their soul, and who, as a result of doing all of this, can end up living very wonderful, beautiful lives. And the fact that this man had all this knowledge, he had different guests on his show talking about nutrition. The word dopamine became the buzzword lately because of his show, when he's talking about the different things we can do to elevate our moods without relying on substances, and just really doing healthy things like going for a walk, waking up in the morning, staring at the sun for 15 minutes when you wake up, taking cold plunges. He talked about intermittent fasting. He had so much great advice that so many of us took to heart. And the fact that I assume he was doing all these things and none of it could help him live a life of integrity is really disappointing. Now I have to make something clear. I kind of was waiting for the shoe to drop, because when somebody is as intelligent, successful, well-spoken, has that deep voice, and looks like this, and is not married or known to have any kind of a serious relationship, I knew there was a roster somewhere happening. That part didn't shock me. We knew something was up. We knew he was a player. I for sure thought that a scandal was going to break one day, but I thought the scandal was going to be that he was found to be messing around with some of his students. He's a professor at Stanford. And so I always knew that something was going to come up one day. What was shocking is that so many of these women were under the impression that they were the only one. And that's completely different from having a poly lifestyle. This is cheating. Everybody knows I've had a huge crush on this man, and I really had this impression that he was this wonderful human being. I feel like I got cheated on. Is it cheating if the person doesn't know that you exist?
That's not cheating.
Nobody asked you, Doja. And also, one of the things that really made his podcast so popular at the time when it popped off around 2020, 2021, was the fact that in a world where everything felt like it was out of control, Andrew Huberman gave us an assurance that there are things that we can do to take control of our lives and make ourselves happy. And the key was really discipline and control and just having healthy choices in life. And the picture that is painted in this article shows somebody that is completely different from what he was preaching on his podcast. The article centers mostly on a woman that is referred to as Sarah. I believe that's a pseudonym to protect her identity. And Sarah was believed to be the principal, the main girl among the Andrew Huberman rotation. She thought she was the only one. They discussed their relationship. They decided to be exclusive. At least that's what they agreed to do. But unfortunately, she came across evidence that showed that she was not the only one, that he had women not only throughout the state of California, but all over the country. There was a woman in Texas. There was another one in New York. They were everywhere. And he was able to keep this from her for about 5 years. The relationship started in 2018 and it ended in December of 2023. So for that entire time, Sarah was blind to what was really happening behind the scenes with the guy she really believed was her boyfriend. Sarah is a woman in her 40s. She's a very successful, well-educated woman who, by all accounts, is very bubbly and loving and a very intelligent woman. She has 2 children from a previous relationship, something that apparently was a problem for Andrew, and that's going to come up a little later. But she's not the type of person that you would imagine would fall for a guy and not know that she's being cheated on the whole time. But that just goes to show the power of Andrew's intelligence and charisma and ability to really fool the people in his life. But the reports on the flakiness, that was the part that really shocked me, because you would think that somebody, a Stanford professor who studies the brain, would have a hold on what's going on. But a lot of people, it just goes to show that what people say about professions and how people are the opposite of their profession, it's so true. And him being somebody who studies the brain, and being somebody who really couldn't control certain aspects of his own behavior, it's laughable if it wasn't so concerning. There was this really strange story about a friend of his who came to see him because they had made arrangements that they were going to go camping. And he says when he got there, the 2 did not go camping. Huberman simply disappeared for most of a day and a half while Carney stayed home with Costello, Andrew's dog Costello. He puttered around Huberman's place, buying juice, walking through the neighborhood, waiting for him to return. It was extremely weird, says Carney, the friend. Huberman texted from elsewhere saying that he was busy working on a grant. And then it says, a spokesperson for Huberman says he clearly communicated to Carney that he went to work. For a day and a half? When you invited your friend to come camping with you, you left him at home with your dog while you were gone for a day and a half? This is really strange. Sometimes the explanation is more embarrassing than the actual accounts that people give, and I'll show that a little later. But I keep thinking about Sarah, the girlfriend, how she, being this really smart woman, fell for this. And she talks about the fact that when they first started talking, he told her that he owned a house in a neighborhood that apparently is a really wealthy neighborhood in the Bay Area. That's where they lived at the time. But then when she finally went to visit him, turns out he lived in Oakland. Now, I don't want to, no shade to Oakland, but Oakland is not necessarily known as a very wealthy area. So the fact that he just told that lie, that very simple lie at the very beginning of their talking stage, and she just decided to continue to pursue the relationship, even though that was a pretty big red flag. It just goes to show what happens to us when we find somebody that we think we have connected with, and we start seeing signs that maybe this is not the right person for me. But you're so, I don't want to say desperate, you're so excited about this new relationship that you decide to overlook the things that you should be paying attention to. It doesn't matter how smart, how educated you are, how much life experience you have. We're all really susceptible to this, and it's kind of sad. This flakiness also comes up when she describes that on their first Thanksgiving that they were supposed to spend together, she was really eager to introduce him to friends and family that she had over, and she had cooked and was getting ready and everything. Everybody was waiting for him to show up, and he kept texting her saying, "Oh, I'm running a little late, I'm running a little late." And this went on for the rest of the day until late at night, after the people had to have eaten already because the food was getting cold. He just said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I was caught up with work." It was these kinds of things that when I read them, I was like, Andrew? Really? Really? He gave off, if you watch his podcast, he gives off this very controlled, very disciplined, very intelligent aura of this man of the world. And it was really shocking to see this aspect of him. But then there was a scary aspect. And this was the part that I found disturbing, when Sarah talks about his temper and how he would get angry at her for having children with another man, even though she had those children before she even met him. And apparently this is something that kept coming up over and over again in their relationship. And she says, when they fought, she says, typically because Andrew would fixate on her past choices, the men she had been with before him, the 2 children she had with another man. I experienced his rage, Sarah recalls, as 2 to 3 days of yelling in a row. When he was in this state, he would go on until 11 or 12 at night and sometimes start again at 2 or 3 in the morning. This is disturbing. This is really bad. I would have been terrified if that was me. There was another example in this article of his rage when the same friend Carney, who he stood up when they were supposed to go camping, he described that he was writing a book, I believe it was. He was writing a book and he mentions Andrew extensively in the book. And he tried to get Andrew to approve what was in the book before sending it to be published. And he kept waiting and waiting for Andrew to read it and give his approval. And Andrew kept making excuses. He didn't have time. He couldn't look. Probably not right now. So Carney decided, okay, let me just go ahead and send in the book and he'll just read it when it comes out, I guess. And apparently when Andrew read what was in the book, he was so angered. Let me read what it says. He came at him in a rage. I've never had a source I thought was friendly go bananas, says Carney. Screaming, Huberman threatened to sue and accuse Carney of violating Navy OPSEC. That part was very strange because, as far as I know, Andrew has never been in the military. So why would he bring that up? Anyway, it's clear that he just was filled with so much rage. In addition to the flakiness and the infidelity, it was just really bad. People say, oh, please, it's just people date, people cheat, what's the problem? Well, the problem is that when a person believes that they are monogamous with another person, they may not take all the precautions that you should take if you know that your partner is, sleeping around town. And because Sarah didn't know this, she exposed herself and he ended up giving her an STI. This kind of behavior is dangerous. It's not something that one can laugh off and say, oh, boys will be boys. It can put a lot of people in danger. And to be fair, he denies it. He says, a spokesperson for Huberman says he has never tested positive for HPV. But according to the CDC, there is currently no approved tests for HPV in men. This is bad, Andrew. This is really bad. And to be honest, the responses he gave were oftentimes worse than the accounts. For example, Sarah says that at one point in their relationship, they were even trying for a baby, that she was being injected with hormones so it could improve the chances of her getting pregnant. And this is what his spokesperson said in response. A spokesperson for Huberman denies that he and Sarah had decided to have children together, clarifying that they decided to create embryos by IVF. Why would you create embryos with somebody you don't want to have children with? This is craziness. This is insanity. And he also said, when he finally, to deny everything that she had said, that they were in an exclusive relationship, that she had been doting on this man, that she had arranged her life to be, everything that he wanted, and all the other things she said, a spokesperson for Huberman says he did not become exclusive with Sarah until late 2021, that he was not doted on, that the tasks between him and Sarah were shared based on mutual agreement and proficiency, that their Thanksgiving plans were tentative, and that he maintains a very busy schedule and shows up to the vast majority of his commitments. This was you should really read this article. It was eye-opening. It was very disappointing. And I'm heartbroken. So yeah, I recommend you read the article. It's very interesting. It's and then people wonder why so many of us are single and refuse to have children, and we just want to be left alone. It's things like these. You think you know someone. You think you can spot the signs and you can identify, okay, this is a good person. And it just seems like nobody can get it together. Nobody wants to be faithful. Nobody wants to just have a relationship that is loving and respectful and kind, where both people are growing together and becoming better versions of themselves. Where are those people? Where are those men? Anyway, I just wanted to let you know about this article. If you haven't heard about it, if you've heard about it, this is my perspective on it. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more from me. Please give a like to this video if you liked it. Please share it with others, and leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this. Do you plan to continue listening to his podcast? I love his podcast. I think there are a lot of positive messages in it. And as long as we remember that people are people, don't follow the messenger, listen to the message. I guess this is what we have to do. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next video.